Mathematically, calorie deficits make sense on the surface, but it's such a severe oversimplification to the point where it's basically false. Okay? There are several other factors that influence both weight loss and fat burning other than the calories itself. Okay? So the first one is adaptive metabolism. Your metabolism isn't set and it doesn't just not change, all right? It changes based on your environment, okay? Adaptive metabolism. So when you eat below your need, say 500 calories deficit, okay? Your body slows your metabolism over the course of a few weeks to the point where you reach homeostasis. Your body is only using as much as it's eating, okay? And it does this by reducing muscle mass because it's metabolically expensive, and it reduces non-exercise movement like fidgeting or like little movements like this with your body, okay? And as well, it slows energy expenditure and it lowers T3, which tells your cells to slow down, stop using so much energy, conserve energy, okay? So you end up, after a few weeks, you're only burning what you're eating, okay? So say my calorie maintenance was 2.5 thousand calories. After 4 weeks or so, 3 weeks maybe, of doing that 500 calorie deficit, now my body's only using 2,000 calories, okay? Your body's perfectly capable of using less energy, okay? Do not think that you are maintaining a perfect deficit and nothing's changed. It just stays the same for months on end, okay? So secondly, if you're actually fat, okay, because I'm assuming you've got excess body fat, you're trying to lose like weight, you're trying to get leaner and become healthier and more attractive and all of the other benefits to your health that will come with that, okay? That's what I'm assuming. Well, if you actually have excess body fat, and especially the fatter you are, like more obese, or even just overweight, then the more likely you are to have metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance, okay? And if you want to learn more about those things, I have made other videos explaining them in depth so you can learn about that. But for now, just you don't need to know exactly what that is. All you just need to know is that this means that you have a slower metabolism, okay? So you have lower T3 and lower energy expenditure, okay? And calorie calculators that you've used online are based on healthy individuals, not obese people with insulin resistance. Okay, if a calculator says you use 2,000 calories a day, well, if you've got metabolic dysfunction, depending on how severe the metabolic dysfunction and how much your metabolism has slowed, okay, depending on that, you might only be using 1,500 calories. So even if you do a 500 calorie deficit, well, you're actually just meeting what you're using, okay? So that's probably why you're not going to be making much progress when you do it, okay? You might stop gaining weight, okay, but you're not going to be losing weight or burning fat at all just by doing that, okay? So, and that's real. There are plenty of examples where if you actually measured your metabolism thoroughly, you would find that you're not using as much as the calorie calculator says. It's inaccurate. It's based on someone like me who's like lean and healthy. And, you know, I know you can change the age, you can change the weight and the height and the gender, but that's not the only factors. It's metabolic dysfunction, insulin resistance. It doesn't take that into account, okay? So you just need like an even heavier deficit. You need to be doing 1,000 calorie deficit just to make any progress, okay? So that's one of the reasons why it's bad. That's the second reason. The third reason that I have is to actually burn fat, not just lose weight, to actually burn body fat and not just like water retention, glycogen, and lean mass, okay? Because obviously when you do a calorie deficit, that's most of the weight that you might be losing is probably muscle, glycogen, and water, okay? you might be just the water and glycogen alone, you might be carrying like 10 kilos of excess of that water, okay? So you've got plenty of weight that you can lose just from that alone without burning a single gram of fat, okay? For you to actually burn fat for energy and actually go and lose fat, okay, you have to lower your insulin, okay? When you eat food, any food, by the way, doesn't even matter, but especially carbs and even more so sugar, you raise your insulin, okay? And yeah, even protein raises it noticeably, okay? To a moderate level, okay? So this raises insulin enough to block fat burning entirely by inhibiting the enzymes HSL and ATGL, okay? So we've got two enzymes, hormone sensitive lipase and adipose triglyceride lipase. Those are two enzymes that they break down the body fat and mobilize it for energy. Insulin completely inhibits it after a certain level, and just eating a chicken breast would bring you up enough to block that fat burning for at least a while, okay, before your insulin comes down, and then you can start burning fat again. So yeah, and when you raise your insulin enough from eating grains or sugar, you could even be storing fat, even in a deficit, okay? Because if you've got insulin resistance, you've got higher baseline insulin, okay? You've got like hyperinsulinemia, which just means because you're resistant to insulin, your body makes more because you've got higher blood sugar and such. So the higher insulin from the carbs, from grains like bread or oats or whatever you think is healthy, that is probably raising your insulin enough to activate an enzyme called LPO, which lipoprotein lipase, which stores fat for energy. It converts sugar into fat, okay? So it helps you store fat. It makes you store fat. So the insulin that you're raising by eating, especially the carbs, that's what's completely blocking any fat burning for hours, all right? And then not only that, if you're resistant to insulin, your fat cells are the only cells that respond to insulin. And I've explained why that is in other videos. So like I said, if you want to learn more about those things, then check those videos. But all you need to know, your fat cells are the only cells responding to the insulin properly. So when you raise your insulin that much, you're definitely storing fat, okay, through LPO and that pathway, okay? So even in insulin resistance, it would take at least 6 to 12 hours before, like without eating, before your insulin gets low enough for fat burning, okay? So eating 3 meals a day with snacks in between while maintaining a calorie deficit will literally just inhibit fat burning and just force a massive drop in your T3 and metabolism. So you'll be using way less energy, okay? That's literally all that will happen. Your body will substantially lower energy expenditure. It'll like you're blocking all of fat burning, so your body is preserving fat and it's being forced to slow its metabolism down and lose muscle and lean mass, okay? That's what's happening. All right, you're forcing conservation, not burning, okay? So fourthly, to burn fat, you need to raise both human growth hormone and adrenaline. Those are the two most powerful hormones for burning fat, like by far, like way more powerful than even the second best hormone, which would like third best hormone, which would be like testosterone, okay? Other than that, like way like exponentially higher, especially adrenaline, okay? And in fasting, these raise dramatically, okay? The levels of production, like your baseline production is way higher, okay? However, in calorie deficits, they only slightly increase, like a slight increase, okay? But not even 10% as much of an increase as in fasting, okay? So this means that the hormones driving fat burning are suppressed and the hormones regulating energy expenditure are suppressed, so T3, your metabolism, okay? And the hormone that inhibits fat, the hormone that inhibits fat burning is repeatedly elevated. Every single time you eat snacks, if you're eating some fruit even, I know it sounds crazy, like, oh, fruit's healthy though. Yeah, but it's got carbs, it's got sugar, an apple has sugar, okay? Oh, but it's got fiber. Fiber literally just drags out the time that it takes to absorb the sugar. You still absorb the sugar, it just takes longer. So your insulin's being raised for longer, all right? So it's not actually going to help you, okay? So basically, you're repeatedly elevating the hormone that blocks fat burning, and you're completely inhibiting the hormones that should be higher in order to burn fat. Like, they're slightly increased because you're not eating as much food, but not enough to actually cause a serious change, okay? And yeah, the hormone that regulates your energy usage is crashing, all right? And you're using as little energy as possible, okay? So it means that you're preserving fat, you're losing muscle, okay, because it's expensive, it uses a lot of energy, even at rest, as you may know, okay? And even if you're doing training, that's not enough, okay? You're not going to be building muscle, right? You might reduce the loss. So normally you lose quite a lot of muscle. You've reduced the loss by doing resistance training at the gym, but like, it's not enough. You can't just compensate for your shit like diet, and you know, the method itself is faulty. Even if you're eating a healthy diet, okay, it's, even if you are healthy and you don't have insulin resistance, this isn't going to work very well. It'll take ages, okay? So you end up in this equilibrium of energy usage and intake where you're still fat, but you're unable to build muscle, okay? So it's really, really bad. So with fat burning, it is actually hormonal, not just mathematical. And even mathematically speaking, okay, fasting is way better than calorie deficits, like way better, because there's 0 calories coming in and all the calories are coming out, okay? So even if you want to use your like laws of physics, like energy balance stuff that you talk about with like the maths and how it's like, oh, calories in versus calories out, even in that perspective, looking only at that mathematical side, fasting is still way better than calorie deficits, okay? That should be obvious, okay? Because in some of my videos in the past, I've said that calorie deficits don't work and they're bad, and people were saying, oh, you're denying the laws of physics. No, I'm not, bro. What are you on about? Like, I'm like, this aligns better with the mathematical side, is fasting, because you're ingesting 0 and all of it's coming out, all right? Okay, so it works even better from that perspective anyway. So, okay, when you do fasting, your insulin drops so low that your body has no brakes on the fat burning, okay? Because normally insulin would tell your body to store energy, store glucose, don't burn fat, we've got carbs, okay? Even in insulin resistance, where your insulin is elevated all the time, higher than what healthy people have, you've got elevated blood insulin, fasting still allows that to fall. It'll just take longer, okay? It'll take, I don't know, 10, it'll just take longer. It'll just take like 24 hours instead of 12 hours, okay? In fasting, your human growth hormone rises between 10 to 20 times baseline. And the longer you go, the higher it gets, okay? Way, way higher than what you'd normally have in a calorie deficit, okay? So, and your adrenaline continually increases. So from 24 hours, it'll be about 50% higher, okay? So 1.5 times baseline. Then after 2 days, after 48 hours, it's about 3 times. So it's gotten even higher, 3 times baseline. All right. And then after 4 days, it will be about 5 times higher. So it's really going like that. And adrenaline is the most powerful fat burning hormone, okay? So as well, you also reach ketosis, okay? You may or may not have heard about ketosis, but it's basically a state where your body uses only stored fat or fat for energy, okay, instead of carbs, okay? So unlike calorie deficits, after 24 to 36 hours, once your glycogen is fully depleted, you will be running almost entirely on stored body fat for energy, okay? Every single calorie you use will be coming from your own body fat, okay? Which means maximal fat burning capacity, all right? In a 500 calorie deficit, a lean person, a lean healthy person like myself, for example, would take about 25 days to burn 1 kilogram of fat in a 500 calorie deficit. Let that sink in. 1 kilogram after 25 days? That's of pure fat. You might lose like 12 kilos of weight. Like, oh, it's so good. Like, but that was your muscle. That was water. That was glycogen. You didn't burn like negligible fat, okay? That just puts it into perspective just how powerful these hormonal systems are and how they influence your body's metabolism, how it affects the energy you're using and where it's coming from, how much you're using. Like, all of this it really is a hormonal thing. It's not mathematical. That's why I say this, okay? Because yeah, you did burn 1 kilogram of fat. Good on you. Congratulations, bro. You burnt 1 kilogram of fat in 25 fucking days. Like, that's stored fat, okay? That is nothing. That is nothing, okay? Like, you would take years to actually make any noticeable progress, okay? So, someone with insulin resistance would take several months to burn 1 kilogram of fat, okay? People resistant to insulin can't really burn fat really at all in any deficit. They just lose way more muscle mass, okay? Because their body isn't metabolically capable of burning fat, especially when you keep eating food, okay? So you're gonna make negligible progress. The weight will drop, but the fat will stay roughly the same. It'll very slow decrease. And like, people think it's healthier to get like a slow fat burning. That's not true at all. That doesn't make any sense. Like, what difference does that make? All right? It doesn't make a difference, especially psychologically with your motivation, like how motivated you are to continue burning fat. If you're seeing like slight progress over time, and you're not going to be very motivated, okay? And I know, like, obviously discipline instead of motivation or whatever, but come on, bro. Like, your discipline will probably increase when you realize that like the progress is that easy, all right? This like discipline bullshit is kind of like, I'm not against discipline at all, right? You need discipline, but like, for the sake of this, like, you're just so much better off doing it quickly, doing it effectively, because it's not just about the speed, it's like how effective are you actually burning fat, okay? All right, with way less consequences like muscle loss or whatever. Like, you're way better off doing it like this, okay? There's no downside. There literally isn't. This is like how we evolved as well. Our body fat was there for the times when there was no food, so that we could like maintain energy levels, maintain muscle mass, so that we can continue hunting the next animal, okay? It really just comes down to that, okay? So also in calorie deficit, your cortisol will rise, okay? And that makes people hungry. Cortisol increases your hunger and forces lean mass loss. So cortisol is catabolic. It makes your muscles decay, basically. But it makes you hungry as well. Okay, so if you're doing these calorie deficits, frankly, you're not even going to win in the calorie deficit side. Like, you're probably going to end up overeating at some point, or binging, like you just buy heaps of junk food because you can't handle it anymore. Your cortisol is elevated from this calorie deficit shit, and now you're so hungry, you're like ravenous, and you've like lost muscle mass. Like, can you just see like how like bad it really is? Like, please, this is so much better of a way to do it, all right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me anymore. Like, how could people possibly think that calorie deficits are like the way to go? Like, it, yeah, it's so stubborn. It's so like oversimplified, okay? So, yeah, in fasting, your adrenaline rises, okay? Adrenaline, unlike cortisol, preserves lean mass. So adrenaline, when it goes to your muscle, it helps preserve the protein. It helps block the breakdown of protein, okay? And it actually lowers hunger. Unlike cortisol, again, because every time, say you're at on a roller coaster, all right, and it's really scary, you're getting heaps of adrenaline, okay? It raises your energy levels, you feel really excited and alert, all right? But if you've ever noticed, you're not actually hungry. Like if you were hungry before you were on the roller coaster, once you're on, you've forgotten about the hunger, right? The hunger's gone, okay? And it's the same in fasting. When it's rising up to like 5 times baseline after 4 days, by that point, you're not hungry, all right? In fact, hunger disappears after about 2 days. It goes up really high, right? Your ghrelin goes so high, you get so fucking hungry. But after, like, that's where you need the discipline, okay? But after like 2 days, roughly 48 hours without food, that's when it starts to really taper off quite sharply, and you stop feeling so hungry because the adrenaline is rising and it's blocking your hunger. The ghrelin falls down, adrenaline comes up, you stop feeling so hungry, and that's when you can really persist, because now it's like, well, you don't even feel the immediate urge to eat, all right? So, yeah, for all those reasons, all right, all those reasons that I've listed, calorie deficits are terrible for fat burning, okay? And although you lose weight, it's almost entirely muscle, glycogen, and water, okay? Don't confuse weight loss with fat burning. They are very different things, okay? They're completely different in this sense. Although technically, if you were to do fasting and like weigh yourself each day, then yeah, that would be like a valid indicator of how much fat are you losing. But just because you're losing weight doesn't mean you're burning fat, okay? It's so confused, bro. People use the term weight loss all the time. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get on a diet to lose weight. Like, no one wants to lose weight. They want to get leaner. They want to be healthier because they're lean, all right? Like, most guys, they don't want to be super skinny but lean. They want to be muscular and lean, all right? They want muscle definition. That comes from losing body fat, not from losing weight, okay? For women, same thing. For anyone, okay? You don't want to lose weight. You want to lose body fat. You want to get leaner. That's what makes you more attractive. It's not being lighter or less heavy. It's about being leaner, all right? Lower body fat percentage, and thus being healthier and feeling better about yourself, okay? Like, all of it comes down to burning fat, not losing weight, okay? That's such a key distinction, all right? If you're watching this right now, I want you to never again use the term weight loss or losing weight. It's about burning fat, okay? Fat burning, not weight loss, okay? That's what it is. So I hope this helps you realize once and for all that calorie deficits, they are fucking bullshit, okay? They do not work. They do not work. 25 days to burn 1 kilogram of fat if you're healthy, that's not effective at all, all right? If you are fasting, you can burn 10 kilograms of fat per month, okay? That's the maximal potential fat burning. Assuming every single calorie is coming from fat and you're exercising, then that means you will be burning up to 10 kilograms of fat per month, okay? So, yeah. I mean, you could burn more if you did more exercise. You could probably burn like, I don't know, 12, 13 kilos, but that's 10 kilograms like the number, okay? Which means that fasting is at least 10 times more effective for burning fat, okay? So, yeah, I hope this helps you understand that. If you are fat and you want to actually accomplish this goal rapidly, like really quickly, then I need you to join my community. It's the first link in the description, and there's heaps of other things, different exercises and such that, you know, and even habits, all right, day-to-day habits other than food that will influence how much fat you burn. And if you do those things, then you can burn even more fat, okay? So please join my community. I'll be coaching you personally. There's a course in there that you can learn from. And subscribe to my channel, obviously, because I'm going to be making more and more of these educational videos that will help you learn and understand the true mechanisms behind fat burning, how you actually get leaner, right? It's not as simple as just eat less calories and do cardio. It really fucking isn't that simple, right? There's so much more to it. It goes so deeper than that, all right? Fat people aren't people who just ate too many calories, all right? It's so much deeper, and I want you to learn all about that so that you can transform and improve your health, and the rest of your life will become better because of that, okay? So, thank you for watching. Subscribe now, and good luck, bro.